Welcome to the 2024 Sedona Ascension Retreat, Accelerating Consciousness, taking place March 8th through the 10th at the beautiful Sedona Performing Arts Center. We are so excited to bring you another phenomenal Ascension Retreat featuring world-renowned speakers and best-selling authors. We have created 4 themes for next year's event: extraterrestrials, ultra-celestials, star ancestors, and quantum consciousness. This event will feature vortex journeys out into Sedona's sacred sites. Also, indoor interactive workshops. We will have 2 roundtables. One, a galactic roundtable, opened by Linda Moulton Howe, giving us the latest ET and UFO intel. Followed by well-known channelers channeling through the galactics, hosted by Ruben Langdon, host of interviews with Extra Dimensionals on Gaia TV, and Deb Giusti. On Saturday, we will feature an ultra-celestial guest panel hosted by Alan Steinfeld and I. It will feature near-death experiencers, mediums, and those who have experienced the ultra-celestial realms. On Sunday, we will feature a Native American hoop dance performed by world champion hoop dancer Moonti Sinqua. This event will feature many retail and food vendors. You won't want to miss our 2024 Sedona Ascension Retreat. Seats for the outdoor vortex journeys and indoor workshops sell out fast. So reserve your seats now at SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. Enjoy this inspired interview with intuitive medium, numerologist, and best-selling author, Sue Frederick. I'm so delighted to be here today with Reverend Sue Frederick. I found Sue through Inner Traditions and her new book, Through a Divine Lens, which is just one of 6 books that she has. I discovered that she is an intuitive coach as well as an ordained unity minister. She does regression therapy and also works with parents who are grieving through an organization called Helping Parents Heal. I am so excited to introduce to you Sue. Welcome, Sue.
Hi, it's really a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to this conference so much.
And I discovered you don't live too far from Sedona, right in Scottsdale.
That's right.
Awesome. And so I just wanted to dive right in because you're going to be offering a presentation on our stage at the Sedona Ascension Retreat, March 8th through 10th at the Sedona Performing Arts Center, as well as teaching a workshop. And so let's explore what you're going to be talking about on stage. And then from there, we kind of can expand into your work.
Well, at the presentation, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is my 3 shared death experiences. And the first one was 1980 when my husband died in my arms. We were both young, mountain climbing. We taught for Outward Bound in Colorado, and really we believed in that you could overcome any challenge if you put your mind to it. And suddenly Paul was dying of cancer at the age of 33, and I had my first major spiritual awakening then, as I helped him cross for a year and learned so many important spiritual lessons in that process, especially about surrender, which is the greatest lesson of grief also. But also I learned that in his crossing, as he lifted up out of his body, he showed me so clearly that his spirit lived on, and he took me with him on that journey to the divine and showed me the meaning of life from the higher perspective that we get after we cross over, and brought me amazing visions constantly, like showed me an apartment that I actually ended up seeing the next day and renting. He was with me every step of the way for weeks after he crossed. And physically, it lifted me up above the physical. So I'm going to talk about how those are more common than we think they are, and how they begin to lift us into our soul's view rather than our sometimes negative, ordinary physical view that we have as human beings here. And so the shared death experience is actually, many millions of people have had them, even though they may not have used that name for them, where you're just lifted into a different consciousness and you have crazy, bizarre things happening. And that's your shared death experience. So I've had 3 very vivid ones like that. And I'll talk about the spiritual lessons in each of those and what each person in the audience might take away from their own experiences like that.
That is fascinating, and I can't say that I'm that familiar with shared death experiences. I'm very much into watching near-death experiencers describe their experiences on the other side. But I love this idea of a shared death experience, especially when it's a beloved, someone very
Yeah.
close to you, who is sort of taking you along on their journey as an expression of love and gratitude. And it's it sounds like it's such a blessing. And this opportunity to develop a soul's view. Can you expand on what that feels like to have a soul's view?
Well, actually, that's what this whole book here is about.
Wonderful.
But I feel like my work for decades has been about helping people shift into that soul's view, whether they're trying to figure out their life purpose, their career, or how to connect to their departed, or why they are still here when their loved ones have crossed over. All of these questions are the good questions of life. Who am I? Why am I here? Where did my loved ones go when they crossed? Why do I still have to be here? All of those good questions are the things that we sometimes don't even ask until we lose a loved one, or we get a broken heart or lose a career. Suddenly we're asking those questions. And that's our spiritual awakening. And it's only through meditation, quieting the mind, and then learning that we always have access to those higher realms for wisdom and guidance. I'm so blessed because I have been able to go so easily into those realms, especially since, I mean, even when I was a child, I did, but it was terrifying. But after Paul crossed and he showed me how to navigate it all, I was only 29 years old, 30 years old. And so from then on, I learned to meditate and I developed spiritual practices. I studied every spiritual tradition I could get a hold of, lived in an ashram, grew up Catholic, studied theosophy, and I'm now an ordained unity minister, because all of those spiritual paths help us lift up beyond religion, beyond dogma, and understand that we are all divine beings in our core. And when we get back to that way of looking at life, it empowers us, it quiets our crazy monkey minds, it opens our hearts, and we can love better, live better, and heal completely from that higher perspective.
Oh, so beautifully expressed. I could even just feel that. And in doing so, feeling like energetically uplifted, even just with the way that you expressed all that. So thank you for that. And so working with helping parents heal, what a profound approach to helping parents heal, because losing a child, there can't be anything more traumatic than that for a parent. And
Well, let
so
me clarify, that is not my organization. I only met Elizabeth Boisson in 2021 after I had been working with grieving clients for decades. I was finally blessed to meet her because we had to move here from Colorado in 2019. And, and
Sorry
then,
about that. Let me turn that off. Sorry. Just turn my settings off and then we'll just pick up where we left off. I usually remember to do that.
so Suzanne, before we pick it up, I just want to clarify that I've only worked with Helping Parents Heal since 2021. And
Okay.
Elizabeth started it, a long, long time ago, like 2009, I think. So I have been doing this work on my own for decades, but it's been the beautiful merging with Elizabeth and her grieving parents in the last couple of years that I feel has just brought my work to its ultimate expression as what I came here to do. But I've been helping people shift into that higher understanding that there is no death for decades.
Mm. And so in your work with those who are grieving, one of the goals is to connect to the loved ones on the other side.
Yeah, so I combine a lot of different things in my work with clients and in my teachings. And I became a master numerologist after Paul died when I was grieving. And here I was turning 30 years old back in 1980, and all my friends were getting married and having babies. And I had seen through the cracks in the world, as they say. I had seen through the veil, and I felt very lost about my purpose and why was I still here. All I wanted to do was go be with Paul in the divine realms. And a numerologist sat with me and gave me a reading, and it was so life-changing because suddenly she explained, oh, well, here's your soul mission. You came in on this master soul path and you intended to really be a consciousness shifter for the world. And here's where you are in your reinvention cycles. And she just laid it all out. Here's Paul's path and your soul agreement with him. And by the end of that session, I was like, this resonates as true. And it's the first thing that I experienced after Paul's death that made me want to live and made me want to understand life from this higher perspective of numerology. And so I immersed myself in it way back when there was one book in the bookstore about numerology in 1980, and there was no internet. And so I really became on the path of inquiry, filling out everybody I met. I would ask their date of birth, and figure out their chart and say, what does that mean if they're on the 8 path and their life has gone this way? And so it just kept teaching me, and I had spiritual guides teach it to me, and I'd wake up from dreams knowing certain things about the numbers. And so it became this lifelong learning journey. And right before I turned 50, I had another big reinvention. And in that moment, I knew that I had to do numerology and intuition as a work for clients to help them. And that was back in 1999, when nobody did that for a living that I knew of. And everybody told me I was going to fail. I was a single mom, And I said, this is all I know I can do. And I know it's what my soul is here for. And I will put my heart into it and make it work. The thing I learned about it is numerology, when it's looked at from a spiritual perspective, can help anyone, no matter what they're facing. And so when I work with clients, I do their path, I figure out their chart, and then I meditate on that energy, and I ask their guide to come through and explain it to me, what their journey is about and how to move forward. And I write, and pages of notes come through for that client. And then if they're grieving someone, I've looked at the path of that departed, and then I meditate on that, and I ask that soul to come forward in the name of helping their beloved here on earth to heal and navigate their lives. And they come through so strongly to help the people who are here on earth, because they know we're struggling here. It's such a hard realm to be in, especially the children. And this is something I learned decades ago, is that when children cross, they are determined to help their parents and loved ones move on from that devastating pain and recognize that they're still here, that there is no death. And the children are stronger spirits than anybody I've ever worked with in the divine. And they come through with so much love and help and guidance for their parents. And I just write it down. And then when I work with the client, I share all of that writing. And then I say, this is your path. These are your reinvention cycles. Here's your soul agreement with your departed. Here's the career and the work you came to do. And it all kind of comes together in that package.
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful approach, taking in everything that you have spiritually tuned into, as well as that which has been presented to you that you've expanded on, and now you blended it all into this really healing approach that's also very informative, guiding the person, right? Giving the person a lot of insight about who they are, why they are, how they are, right? The path that they're on, their soul's mission, and then also connection to their loved ones on the other side. So, wow, that is so beautiful. And I'm very excited to have my own session.
But Suzanne, I also want to tell people, and I'll be talking about this at the conference, that everyone has the ability to connect like this. And, early on in my journey, I would tell people, my husband, Paul, had shown up and had shown me an apartment that I ended up renting and living in for many years. And as I would share stuff like that, people would go, that's a little wacky, don't you think? And what I've learned is we are shifting consciousness here. And part of that is each of us recognizing that we can all connect beyond the veil of awareness. And if we have a departed loved one, that it's our job to open up and accept that they are still here, that there is no death, and that they are trying to communicate with us, and to open our heart by quieting our mind so that we can hear it and feel it and know it. I would be happy if I never had another client because everyone recognized they could do this. That's the goal here for all of us, to shift into that awareness that we are souls on a journey. There is no death, and our beloveds are trying to pull us into that light while we're still walking on the earth realm.
You are prolific, my dear. So are you teaching that in your workshop? Are you teaching people how to tap in then to their intuitive gifts and abilities to?
Yeah, at your conference, when I do the numerology workshop, it's not a math class. As I always say, the calculations are very simple, and I want to get those over with quickly. In fact, I sell a workbook on Amazon here. If anybody wants to go calculate their path and figure that out now, they can do it very quickly and easily. And that workbook is very user-friendly. And then when they come to the workshop, I really want to go beyond the calculations and just say, this is what this means for your soul. And this is what it means for your journey. One of the things that happens when we cross over, when we leave the body, is that we have this beautiful soul review where we see our lives and we see them, we're held by the loving guides, so it's not painful, but we see the ripple effect of every word, every thought, every feeling we had when we were on earth. And we see how we helped people, how we healed people, how we hurt people. And we watch it all and go, oh, now I understand. Everyone was doing the best they could. And I was supposed to be learning compassion and forgiveness and love and courage. And why was I afraid? And why didn't I pursue that great work I always wanted to do? And we have these amazing soul moments of recognition. And then our soul decides, gee, well, you can either keep learning in the divine realms and become a helper from there, or if you want, you can jump back into that dense realm of the human realm, and go again. And I laugh when I say that, because every person I work with goes, no, I'm out. I'm never coming back, And so if we do that soul review while we're still here in the body, we can start living every day like we know that we have something our soul wants us to do. So that's why I teach in numerology. I even teach a meditation where you lift out of your body and see your life story, because as we outline all your 9-year reinvention cycles, it's like a mini soul review. You get to go, oh, I see what happened when I was 30 and my beloved broke up with me and this and that. And you just watch your soul grow and evolve. And that is a soul review while we're still here in our bodies. And it is magnificently helpful to us.
I've often thought that if we could do our soul reviews before we pass over, how much we could clear and
Yes.
how we could set an intention to create more positive experiences for everyone we're interconnected through on the consciousness grid. Buddhism was really the foundation for my journey, and it laid some of those foundational principles. So very early on, Buddhism was talking about expressing regret for those things that you did that hurt others,
Yeah.
and then promising never to repeat those offenses, just
Yes.
as one that's called the Confessions of Moral Downfalls. And then, like, you're supposed to do these prostrations, right? And like
Right. I
everything I
know.
ever did, like stealing a piece of gum when I was 5 years old, like I confessed. But I can tell you that I just felt so much better afterwards. I felt so liberated, where I couldn't hardly even remember things that I had done that I regretted. So it was really very clearing. I'm just sort of, giving an affirmation for the power of that work. And then
Isn't it
also,
fascinating, Suzanne, how every religion contains that element in it? Like I grew up Catholic and we actually went to a priest and confessed our sins, and they still do
right.
that in the Catholic tradition. And then in the Buddhist tradition, like you're saying, it's a sacred process. And then I lived in a Hindu ashram where there were very similar principles that we did and practiced together. And even unity, I'm a unity minister, there are certain practices of forgiveness and things like that where you really do work through your life and say, who is it that I need to love and forgive, and that's a constant practice. I think if religion has any purpose, really, it is to show us that there's something beyond the physical, and that our soul is here to want to do it right, to want to be a loving, compassionate person, no matter what comes our way.
Yes. Love and compassion, loving kindness, all of those beautiful principles, because we realize how interconnected we are with everyone else in the field. It reminds me of another Buddhist practice, which some people think is funny, but it's like everyone is my mother. So assuming that you love your mother dearly and you have a really beautiful relationship with her, you walk through the reality and you think everyone I'm passing, every stranger, every person, like I'm deeply connected to, I'm in love with,
Yeah.
right? And they are me and I am them. And you develop this real deep sense of empathy. And then that is what takes you to that next level of only desiring to support one another and to be compassionate and kind and to take the high road. And also
Yes.
just to love those who have taught you the most powerful lessons, which are usually the ones you need
Who
to
hurt
forgive
you
the
the
most.
most, right? Yes. And what's so beautiful when people leave the body, whether they're having a near-death experience or a shared death experience or an OBE, an out-of-body experience at night and dreams, or I've had many out-of-body experiences that don't fall under the category of near death or shared death. And in those moments, what you see is the backstory of everyone you think has hurt you, and you understand where their pain came from and what their journey was, and you see them as a soul rather than a first personality in a physical body. And the soul connection is always pure unconditional love, and that's what we get to when we leave the body. I mean, these bodies serve a purpose while we're here. We have to have them, but once we lift out of them, it is only a realm of unconditional love and deep understanding for each other's pain. And my goal, and I think all of our humanity shifting goal right now, is to try to shift as many souls into that kind of consciousness as possible. And certainly the Sedona Ascension retreat is about exactly that.
Definitely. My goal is to bring together large groups of
Yes.
people so that we can all connect in our shared desire to create more unity, peace, harmony. And when we all come together and we do these powerful meditations, pouring our love and light into the ley lines, this intention for our love for all to spread throughout the earth, to spread throughout the cosmos, right? And it's very powerful when 500 people, all
Yes.
do that at once. And so it's about the teachings, it's about, workshops, it's about journeys out on the land, but the overriding theme is for us all to share love, spread love, ignite this whole movement of love, unity, peace, and harmony to spread throughout the earth. And like I said, throughout the cosmos, because we do connect with our galactic brothers and sisters and people who are in connection with the galactics, but also in connection with just the souls on the other side, right? Who are experiencing divine love, like your book, Through a Divine Lens.
And to understand that, this is it's a very important tipping point in the evolution of human consciousness. And there's a lot of crazy behavior, a lot of, you could call it darkness happening. But at the same time, the greatest light that's ever been here is here. So we are all sort of being asked, are we moving towards the light side of consciousness while we're here on Earth? Or are we surrendering to fear, anger, division, negativity? And we each have to make our own soul choice. And because we're in the human realm, we're always going to have one foot in the physical and one foot in our divine consciousness. But the job now that we're all facing is to lean more into our divine consciousness and less into our human ego selves, because we're being called up. We're being called up to behave as highly evolved souls here on Earth rather than lost physical beings. And so whatever practice helps a person do that is extraordinarily important at this time of shifting consciousness.
Yes. Thank you for that. I do believe there's an accelerated evolutionary path that we've been set on at this point as we move into what you may call a golden age. I like to call it crystal age of ascension versus the golden age of enlightenment, just because, this is a different time. We're different humans at this point in this shift. But in any case, just using the free will choice to selflessly serve the light of love, or to go around the wheel of separation and suffering again. And I don't feel there's any judgment about it. Some souls may be new to the 3D experience, right? And they're still learning through that duality. But the soul, yes, right now.
But because we're all connected, Suzanne, as you know, the more of us who shift up into that higher consciousness, the more we're helping all of the collective consciousness shift up, even if it can't happen through conversation, which I believe in a lot of examples, it can't happen through conversation anymore, that conversation has become divisive in so many cases. But as we raise our consciousness, as we embrace spiritual practice and spiritual principle, as we accept that there is no death, that the spirit is eternal, that we're all on purpose trying to evolve this consciousness on Earth, that we're all in it together on the same divine team, then all those people who may be really stuck in their unconsciousness, no fault to them, but simply either they've had tremendous pain and they haven't been able to pull out of that, or like you say, they might be newer on the journey of being a human. We can help them simply by doing the work ourselves in our own sacred practices. And it shifts everyone like a ripple effect of higher consciousness. This is why your conference is so important, because you're going to have all of those people there shifting consciousness into the higher realms, and it will have such a huge ripple effect. You know, I got to speak at the Helping Parents Heal conference last August. Elizabeth Boisson is the founder of that, and it's a huge nonprofit of grieving parents. And Elizabeth teaches that there is no death, and that our children, when they cross, they are the most powerful light beings trying to help humanity evolve, and they're always helping their parents. They're always around for guidance and wisdom and healing. And in that conference, there were 900 grieving parents, and you would think that would be a horrible conference to go to, right? In fact, the people who worked at the resort where it was held said they looked on the calendar and said, "Oh my God, 900 grieving parents. That's going to be terrible."
Heavy,
And,
yes.
you know, and then they came back at the end and they said, "You all are the happiest, sweetest, kindest people we've ever had here. And we simply can't believe that you're all grieving parents," because that conference was all about communicating with your departed, quieting the mind and opening the heart, listening to other people who connect to the divine, practices like shamanism, meditation, numerology that lifted us up. We came away from that conference on a different vibrational level, and it rippled out to affect so many people. That's exactly what you're doing at your conference, and we need to be doing these like all the time, because they are shifting everything into the light.
Definitely. I do 2 a year. That's about my max.
That's great.
One is a smaller, more intimate retreat. The other one is a giant conference. But yes, that I do feel called. That is definitely a part of my calling, is to host large gatherings of people for that purpose.
Yes.
Inspiration, enlightenment, empowerment, but coming together to meditate on love and allow that love to spread throughout the earth and the cosmos. Yes, no doubt. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I do believe in that rippling effect 100%. And also taking accountability for what you're rippling out.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I just want to say to any listeners, of course, we're all going to have hard days. We are still human. We still have a body. We still are here in the dense realm. So do not beat yourself up if you have a day where you feel depressed or anxious or afraid or sad. All of those are part of the human package that we agreed to have down here, because part of what we're doing is feeling all of those things and learning to shift them and transform them into the love and the compassion and the sweetness and the kindness. As we shift those painful emotions, we're helping everyone shift those painful emotions. But I also want to make very clear that if you're grieving, you have to feel that pain. You're not just the next day going to shift into complete awareness that there's no death. You also have to feel that pain so you can move it out of your heart chakra. And I'm sure you're doing different things at the conference to help people move pain out of them. It's a big part of then being able to lift up and raise your vibration to that higher connection.
Yes, thank you so much for that. I personally do a lot of work in the chakras because we're well aware that there are actually 7 ascending levels of consciousness, right? And seated on each one of those wheels can be shadows or blockages that need to be cleared, that no longer serve. And yes, so moving into each one of those and sort of witnessing that and bringing forth, you know, what comes up that may no longer be serving, and setting intention to clear it. And yes, we do a lot of moving energy. Because we are in a place where we are being called to do the work that it takes, and also to recognize everything that we are presented with may be an opportunity to reveal where we're at on our journey and how we're doing on our path, right? And so in that way, our evolutionary level may be assessed, or we may be able to assess it for ourselves and just recognize as the witness of who and how we're being, how we can continue to be on a path of self-improvement and
Yes.
notice where we may still have room for improvement. And
You
so
know,
then just
I
be
also
very
think that our pain is important because I've always taught that our greatest work offers to the world what we wish had been offered to us in our moment of deepest pain. So your pain that you've experienced in your lifetime, it's part of what you agreed to experience, so that as you evolve, you then are able to turn around and help others from the wisdom and the compassion you've gained through your own pain. So that pain is essential because it shows us how we are here to help.
definitely right. And so that empathy that
Yes.
we develop through our own particular life circumstances, we can turn around and reach out to those who have had similar experiences
And
and
that
help them and
explains,
support them.
that explains the work you do. I'm sure if we ever heard your life story, we would go, oh, that's why you're now doing this. And in my journey, losing my husband at 29 after he suffered a terrible cancer for a year, young, beautiful mountain climbing man, what I wish had been offered to me was more people seeing that as a spiritual gift of awakening to help me understand it that way and look at it that way, instead of only this one numerologist who held the light for me. And I'm very grateful she was there. I couldn't have made it without her. But imagine if a whole community back then had said, this is not a tragedy, because back then it was labeled like they said, oh, that's tragic, Sue. You have bad luck. Oh my God, throw those words out the window. It was my greatest spiritual awakening. And if only my community had been able to share that with me and express that to me in a way that would have helped me, it would have facilitated my growth even faster. So now, especially organizations like Helping Parents Heal and doing the work that I do, I'm trying to say, this pain is not your fault, and it's something your soul may have agreed to in order to help you become the healer that you're here to be, or the teacher, or the compassionate one that you're here to be. And let's see how that pain can guide you on that journey of becoming that. And that way a person doesn't feel that whatever happened to them is a horrible tragedy and they're different from everybody else. Instead, they go, wow, I've had a great spiritual gift of awakening. Now, what can I do with this gift as I move forward?
Yes. Everything is a blessing, even if it doesn't seem like it at the time, if you
That's
can
right.
see it as such and embrace it as such, and then learn from it and then teach others.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what we call evolution, right?
that's right.
Yes, beautiful. Well, thanks you for everything that you've shared today, Sue. You're incredibly prolific, very well versed, and also have had a lot of really profound experiences. Thank you for sharing this with our audience, and also bless you for being a part of our Sedona Ascension retreat.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to be there with everybody. And if any of you want to learn more about your numerology path, please come to the numerology workshop we're doing. And if any of you just want to understand how your beloved's death may have lifted you into the higher realms for lessons and gifts that maybe you don't clearly remember, please join me at the talk at Sedona Ascension Retreat. And we'll have lots of question and answer where you can share what your experiences have been and what the spiritual gift or lesson may be behind those moments.
Aw,
Thank you,
thank you
everybody.
so much. And thank you for joining us. Just visit SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. Join us March 8th through 10th here in the vortex of Sedona. We send you love and many blessings. Namaste.